The nights in New York had a life of their own. Beneath the glaring lights of towering billboards and the steady hum of traffic, the city seemed alive, restless, and unpredictable. For Elena, a 35-year-old taxi driver, it was both a playground and a battlefield. The streets were her domain, yet every night she felt the city whisper secrets she wasn't sure she wanted to hear. Elena had been driving through the bustling avenues for over a decade, ferrying strangers from one corner of the city to another. But her own heart carried a load far heavier than any fare. For 3 years, she had been in love with Mark, an art gallery coordinator whose charm had first captivated her on a rainy spring afternoon. With him, Elena had felt the warmth and safety of home, even amidst the chaos of New York. Yet recently, something had shifted. Mark had grown distant, spending more time on his phone, disappearing for vague work meetings, and offering little explanation. The instincts that had once comforted Elena now whispered doubt and suspicion. Every passing street lamp and neon glow seemed to echo the uneasy feeling in her chest. One evening, as she drove through the late-night streets, she found herself replaying Mark's last words. "I have a meeting tomorrow, Elena. Trust me, it's just work." Her chest tightened at the thought. Something about his tone, the hesitation he couldn't hide, set off an alarm in her mind. Elena realized she could no longer rely on mere hope or blind faith. She needed to uncover the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Under the shadows of New York's towering skyscrapers, Elena felt a resolve harden within her. She was done waiting. She was done wondering. If betrayal lurked behind Mark's charming facade, she would confront it, and she would not be the one left broken. The city never slept, but Elena's mind did little better. That night, she drove through the rain-slicked streets, her taxi's headlights cutting through the mist. Her passengers were a blur, chatting couples, tired office workers, and silent night wanderers, but her thoughts were on Mark. She replayed every detail from the last few weeks, the sudden late nights, the unexplained absences, the text messages that he deleted too quickly. Each memory gnawed at her, feeding the suspicion that she had tried to suppress. By midnight, Elena made a decision. She would follow him, not recklessly, but cautiously, like a predator stalking prey. If Mark was hiding something, she would find it. The city's neon glow reflected off her rearview mirror as she remembered the apartment he had been visiting on the Lower East Side, a place he claimed was for work. Parking a few blocks away from the building, she watched from the shadows. The night was still, except for the occasional siren or distant shout. After 10 tense minutes, Mark emerged from the building, not alone. A woman stepped out behind him, laughing softly, her hand brushing his arm in a familiarity Elena had never felt. Her stomach dropped. The laughter, the touch, this was the betrayal she had feared. For a moment, Elena considered driving away, retreating into the comfort of denial. But something snapped. She could feel the heat of anger rising, burning through the layers of hurt and shock. She would not let this go. Elena followed them at a distance, her mind racing with plans. She needed to know the truth completely before confronting him. Every turn of the street, every corner, she stayed alert, her hands gripping the wheel as though it were a lifeline. The city had always been dangerous, but tonight, the danger was personal, and it was close to home. By the time Mark and the woman disappeared into a late-night cafe, Elena had made a choice. She would expose the betrayal. She would confront him, and she would take back the dignity he had tried to steal. Revenge was no longer a thought. It was a promise she whispered to herself as the taxi engine purred in the darkness. The morning after her late-night surveillance, Elena could barely sleep. Her apartment felt smaller, suffocating, as if the walls themselves were whispering reminders of Mark's betrayal. She poured herself a strong coffee, staring out at the bustling streets of New York below, and made a silent vow. She would not be a victim. She would act. Elena's mind raced through possibilities. Confrontation was dangerous. Mark was cunning, and he had never imagined she would suspect him. She needed evidence, a way to reveal the truth not only to herself, but to anyone who could make him accountable. Her first step was subtle observation. She began adjusting her taxi routes, finding excuses to be near the places he frequented, taking mental notes of his patterns. Every meeting he had, every phone call, she memorized. The city became a chessboard, and she was finally moving her pieces. By midweek, she had gathered enough to confirm her suspicions. Mark's late-night activities were not work meetings. He was seeing someone else, a liaison that he thought she would never uncover. Anger and sorrow battled within her, each surge fueling a determination she had never felt before. Elena knew the confrontation couldn't be public. It had to be precise, planned, and decisive. She began to write down her steps, meticulously, like a soldier planning a mission. Step 1, gather undeniable proof. Step 2, find the right time and place. Step 3, confront him. Step 4, reclaim her life. For the first time in months, Elena felt a clarity that her heart had lacked. The betrayal had wounded her, yes, but it had also awakened something stronger, a resolve to reclaim control over her own destiny. By Friday evening, she had her plan in place. She would confront Mark at the gallery where he worked, in front of witnesses who could not deny the truth. But she would do more than just expose him. She would ensure that he felt the weight of his deception, just as she had. As she sat in her taxi, watching the neon lights reflect off the wet streets, Elena smiled faintly. Revenge, she realized, was not about cruelty. It was about justice, about reclaiming power that had been stolen. The art gallery smelled faintly of paint and polished wood, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside her. She walked in calmly, as if she were just another visitor admiring the pieces on the walls, but her heart pounded with anticipation. Each step brought her closer to the man who had betrayed her, closer to the moment when the mask would fall. Mark didn't notice her at first. He was engrossed in conversation with a potential client, his hand brushing the woman's again, as though she owned a piece of him that Elena had once thought was hers. The sight made her chest tighten with both pain and fury. Elena waited, watching, letting the moment stretch. Then, when she knew she had gathered enough attention from the right witnesses, she stepped forward. "Mark," she said, her voice low but carrying across the gallery. He turned, surprise flashing in his eyes. "Elena? What are you—" She cut him off, raising her hand slightly, letting the others see the small envelope she held. Inside were pictures, text messages, and a small recording of conversations she had gathered over the past week, each piece a damning testament to his betrayal. The gallery fell into a hush as people turned toward them. Mark's face paled, his carefully constructed charm cracking under the pressure of public exposure. "You lied to me," Elena said, steadily, her hands no longer shaking. "You used me, and you thought I'd never find out, but I did." The woman standing beside him looked stunned, stepping back in confusion, sensing the storm about to hit. Elena laid the evidence on the counter between them. The photograph, the messages, the recordings, they spoke louder than any words could. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Mark tried to reach for the papers, to control the situation, but it was too late. "You need to see what your betrayal looks like, Mark. Every lie, every secret," Elena continued, her voice rising with controlled fury. "You underestimated me. You thought I'd break, but I don't break. I fight back." Mark opened his mouth to protest, but no sound came out. Around them, patrons and staff watched silently, aware they were witnessing a moment of reckoning. Elena felt the heat of her anger transformed into a cold, precise resolve. This was not just about exposing him. It was about reclaiming her power, her dignity. As she walked out of the gallery, leaving the envelope behind for the others to see, Elena felt the first flicker of relief. The storm within her hadn't passed, but the first move had been made. After the confrontation at the gallery, Elena felt a mix of triumph and emptiness. Mark had been exposed, but the wound in her heart still throbbed. Seeing him panic, witnessing the shock in the eyes of those around him, gave her a sense of justice, but justice alone was not enough. She wanted him to truly understand the weight of his betrayal. Elena spent the next few days observing him from a distance. She returned to her taxi routes, but now every corner, every street became a surveillance post. Mark was careless in his arrogance. He thought the gallery incident would be forgotten quickly, but Elena had no intention of letting it go. She discovered more than she expected. Mark had been embezzling funds from the gallery, using his charm to manipulate clients and staff alike. His lies were not limited to her. They had been a part of a larger pattern of deceit. This revelation fueled her anger even further. Elena